Hello everyone, it's Tommy with Studio Sins coming at you this fine day for another fragrance review video. It's not really a fragrance review, it's more like a fragrance list. And this is a user requested video. It is my favorite warm and boozy fragrances for fall. One of my favorite genres altogether. So when we return, I'll go over my list, 10 favorite boozy fragrances coming up next, so stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. I'm excited to bring you today's video. It is a user requested video. I absolutely love fragrances with alcohol in them because then I just like Sterno, I strain everything else out and just drink the alcohol. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, I really like that warm, fuzzy, slightly resinous, slightly scratchy, whether it's brandy, whiskey, rum, doesn't matter, it's all really good. And I've got kind of a mixture of each, but today's video is a cheapy video. Let me make that clear, with one exception. I gotta have that one exception, you'll understand why when it pops up in the list. But today's video is for cheapy fragrances that are boozy, very accessible. You can go out and get them right now. You don't have to save up a ton of money. And that's my favorite kind of list. So let's go ahead and get into it. We have 10 to get into. My very first fragrance is a cheapie from Azzaro, originally released in a trio of fragrances. Yes, I've talked about it before. There's a funny story behind it. You should check out I'll leave the link above here if you want to check out my story behind this fragrance. But it is a Azzaro Solarissimo FAVIGNANA. FAVIGNANA is a very, very nice, sweet fragrance. If you like sweet fragrances, you'll really like FAVIGNANA. It's actually got really good performance, as in you can see I've used quite a bit of it since I've had it, and I've had it for a super long time. It's got Chinese tune, which is like a type of wood that's dark, rich, resinous. It's great for fall and winter. But the type of booze that's in this is rum absolute. Now, one thing I like about rum is it gives the fragrance body, it gives it warmth, and adds a little bit of sweetness, or a lot of sweetness. It really lifts, it gives it some warmth, it adds that kind of nice fuzzy feeling in your nose, that alcohol that's not just the alcohol fixture that's in it. So Azzaro Solarissimo FAVIGNANA, fantastic daytime, nighttime, casual wear fragrance, but also a very nice date night fragrance. I've really enjoyed this on date nights, occasions especially. This is a list of 10 in no chronological order, so it's not a top 10 list. My second favorite boozy fragrance is a Carolina Herrera classic fragrance for men, and it is CH PRIVE, Carolina Herrera PRIVE. PRIVE comes in that classic flask type bottle. It's kind of got the oval shape in behind it, and it's got this is a flask type presentation. Oh man, this one is boozy, it's leathery, it's the typical bad boy fragrance. It's been called, in fact, Carolina Herrera created a fragrance called Bad Boy that's supposed to supersede this one, and it's really not that great. It's semi-generic, semi-bland. Get this instead. If you're standing in front of Bad Boy and PRIVE, you definitely want to grab PRIVE. Very accessible, inexpensive. It's a great date night fragrance. And if you're like me and you ride a motorcycle, this is also a great motorcycle fragrance. Goes really well with actual leather that you're wearing because of the leather note in here, the leather accord. Now, instead of rum, PRIVE has whiskey in it, and as I said before, whiskey adds kind of a slightly scratchy, warm, fuzzy feeling as well, similar to the warmth of rum, only it's not a smooth warm like rum is smooth. It's a little bit scratchy, slightly resinous, but it adds a certain animal magnetism and appeal to PRIVE that a lot of fragrances don't have, so it's an added bonus, especially on date nights. As I've mentioned on my channel before, car manufacturer fragrances are often hit or miss, mostly miss, aka Hummer. But my favorite I'll say, because there are a couple that are pinging around the top there, one of my favorite car manufacturer fragrances of all time is Bentley for Men Intense. Bentley for Men Intense, it smells just like what you might think or might imagine a Bentley fragrance might smell like the interior of a Bentley, because it does have that dark, rich leather smoothness about it. But the primary smoothness, the predominant smoothness that comes from this fragrance is in the heart. In the heart we have rum. Again, rum. Rum can take many flavors. The rum in this is very similar to the coloration of the bottle. So it's kind of a light to medium type rum. So it's not super strong, it's not a punch in the face, but it's a soft caress where and when you want it. And I would highly recommend this for date nights because it's extremely alluring. One of the best performing, long-lasting fragrances. I really enjoy the longevity in this. It is 9+ hours for me. The projection bubble is a good radius of 2 feet for the first hour and a half, 2 hours, which is pretty much average, but it's really, really strong, especially when you don't smell it. Please be aware that other people do. Boozy, warm, autumn fragrance. This next fragrance might feel or seem like a stretch, and maybe it is a little bit, but I really like the fragrance. I've worn it for a long time now, and not a lot of people, actually nobody, talks about it. Let's just be straight up. In fact, some people think that it's kind of a crap fragrance, and I'm okay with that. But it does have gin fizz in it. Gin fizz is in a lot of mixed drinks. It's not really boozy, okay? That's where I'm stretching a little bit. It's not really boozy. I'll go ahead and say that. You don't have to tell me that in the comments. I know that it's not really boozy, but it is alcohol, and it adds especially for moving into fall, right? And kind of getting away from our blue fragrance genre into a new genre. This is a great transitional fragrance. CK Into You by Calvin Klein. CK Into You for him, because there is a for her version. The for him version is a white bottle. It looks like the kind of bottle that a ship belongs in. It's really cool. So there's a little bit of a nod there. The bottle itself has kind of a crease, like a notch in the bottom, like an arrow, which is kind of cool. But it smells really, really good. The perfumer, Lok Dong, that was involved in creating this, I really like his history with fragrance. He's made a lot of fine fragrances, including Euphoria Intense for Men, also by Calvin Klein, which is a great fragrance. This one does have gin fizz. The gin fizz in this gives it a citrus, alcohol, citrus, or boozy citrus presence that is very, very nice. And this is very similar to like almost like a dapper fragrance that is similar to the barbershop arena without being specifically barbershop. If you haven't tried CK Into You for him, I highly recommend getting it. You're not gonna spend much money on it, but you'll be very happy that you added it to your collection. Some people might take issue with this next fragrance, just like CK Into You, but I'm fine with that because I am in love. When I first bought this, I absolutely fell in love with this accord. It is an absinthe accord. That's the boozy, is the absinthe. I'm a sucker for anything aniseed or anything that's licorice-like. You know, what's that drink, Jaeger, we used to drink when we were younger? I say we, like we were friends. You probably drank it too. Somebody out there, right? Drink Jaeger? Jaeger bombs. Drank too many of those. Don't really drink Jaeger much anymore because it brings back those memories. Just like fragrance can spark memory, alcohol in certain retrospect can also bring back some not so great memories. Obviously talking about Coach Blue for Men. Now, no, this isn't a fantastic performer, but with a bottle like this, it's a 100 ml bottle that you can decant. The fragrance itself is extremely pleasant. Yes, it is a blue fragrance. Again, it's a nice blue fragrance, but for that blue in you that wants a little bit of remembrance of summertime, especially when the snow flies and the weather gets super cold, bust out the Coach Blue, you'll get that blue shower gel feel with that boozy alcohol accord of the absinthe. Now, the nice thing about the absinthe note in Coach Blue, it's in the top, but it stays throughout the life, relatively short life, but it does stay throughout the life of the fragrance itself. And I really like that. It's almost a dichotomy. Coach Blue, really, really nice, somewhat boozy fragrance with that absinthe note in there. Now, this next fragrance is one that also might surprise you. Again, in my cheapie list, it's fantastic. It's one of those that you bust out and you forget, again, once you start wearing it, just how good it is. It's also a Calvin Klein fragrance, and it is called Calvin Klein Reveal. Now, the booze that's in Reveal is pear brandy. That's right, the topmost predominant note is pear brandy. And I tell you what they did is they built this fragrance around that pear brandy accord, because everything that's in it is there to substantiate the existence of that pear brandy accord. That pear brandy, it hits you in the face. It's smooth, it's creamy, it's alluring, it's very sensual. This is a date night fragrance. The arena that it was created for is the date night or the nighttime sensibility fragrance. So that pear brandy accord, it's got candied ginger, clary sage, vetiver or pure, however you say that, tonka bean for the sweetness in there, and that nice pear brandy is amazing. This is one of those underappreciated hidden gems. If you don't have it, I highly recommend grabbing it up. You will be very happy that you did. It goes with almost everything in almost any situation. But again, nighttime is the best time to wear Reveal. This next fragrance I've had for a while. It isn't what I originally thought was boozy, but there was a note in it before I actually did the note breakdown and looked at the note breakdown. I was like, wow, this is exactly why I really like this. It is from Trussardi, and it is Trussardi Riflesso Blue Vibe. Yes, again, similar to Coach Blue, similar to CK Into You for him, it is a kind of a blue kick around, average, everyday fragrance, but what's not average about it is the rum in this. So you've got Davana, you've got rum that smooths this out, you've got ambroxan that pushes it off the skin and makes it very modern, very masculine, very urban. So it does feel kind of semi-sophisticated, but it's also super clean. So it's one of those boozy fragrances that also gives you a nice clean feeling. Checks a lot of boxes for me. This I've actually liked and worn a lot more than I originally anticipated that I would. So, and some fragrances will surprise you. You know, you initially buy them because you hear something good about them, and then you really, really like them the more that you wear them. Of course, it does the reverse sometimes. This, thankfully, did not do the reverse. Trussardi Riflesso Blue Vibe. Highly recommended. Now, the rum in this is in the top, along with, I think, Davana and Uzu. So it's very citrusy, but again, it pulls that rum into the heart, into the base, so it does remain boozy throughout the life of the fragrance. Dries off, goes away a little bit in the end when the dry down reaches its probably 7th hour, but for those 7 hours, it is an amazing, inexpensive fragrance. Highly recommend adding it to your collection. This is another fragrance with smooth, sweet rum in the top, and also with ambroxan to lift it off your skin and push it in everybody's face. It kind of surprised me because it's from a house that's not necessarily known for modern smelling fragrances, if that makes sense. They try to push more on the niche type side. And of course, I'm speaking of Lalique with Lalique L'Insomnie. L'Insomnie is actually one of those fragrances that, as I mentioned, you know, I bought with not a lot of expectation. I heard a few things about it, saw a review. I like it a lot more now that I've worn it and gotten some really good wear time and hang time, that I've been wearing this off and on, like maybe every other day, and I really, really like it. It's one of those fragrances that I'm super happy that I have. So in the top, you've got basil, bergamot, and rum, and again, similar to Blue Vibe, rum note in the top, more like a boozy that's got a little bit of energy to it. So it's got that boozy feeling, it's got that boozy vibe because of the rum, but it's a smooth, slightly sweet vibe that is really kind of my favorite, because I don't like the boozy that makes you feel like you want to fall asleep. I like the boozy that gives you a kick and gives you that extra energy that you're looking for. Now this one has a little bit more of a sophisticated side to it than does Blue Vibe, so you can also wear this dressed up, but primarily I would say it's best for casual use. Lalique L'Insomnie, extremely inexpensive, perfect for this oncoming fall weather that we're having. Okay, so remember earlier in the video that I said that I had one exception? This is a cheapie list, but technically it's 9 fragrances and one isn't necessarily cheap, but I've used it so frequently lately just because of the change in weather. It gave me an excuse to wear it a lot more, and I really, really love it. And it is, of course, I'm referring to the 2020 version of Tom Ford's Black Orchid. Black Orchid is a dark, rich, it is a unisex fragrance. It is, of course, an eau de parfum concentration. It is an amazing fragrance, and it is very, that booziness, it sneaks up on you, just like a really good mixed drink does. Similar to SOLARISSIMO FAVIGNANA, there's Rum Absolute. Rum Absolute is in this fragrance. It does give it that warm, slightly, now this, the Absolute pulls away any kind of like sugary sensation. So this doesn't, it's got a light gourmand sense about it, but it's not a sweet gourmand. But it's very alluring, it draws you in. Great performance on this fragrance. I wouldn't overspray this, be very wary about how many sprays. 2 to 3 maximum up in this area or on your arms, kind of away from your face so that you don't get anosmic to it or nose blind. If you have a upscale event that you want to go to, it's also great for casual wear. If you can get a hold of a bottle or a smaller bottle, because it is kind of expensive. All right, my last fragrance is definitely not my least, and if any fragrance in my collection deserves to get an award for being in my lists most frequently, and I truly don't do it on purpose, it literally just has so many uses. It has so many great notes in it, in the category of my favorite type of fragrance. Let me just put it that way. So the award goes to Jesus Del Pozo's Halloween Man X. Halloween Man X does have a whiskey note in it. The whiskey note comes through in the heart of the fragrance. Halloween Man X is unique insofar as it is a coffee-based fragrance. It's almost like pouring a little bit of whiskey in your coffee, if you've ever done that before. Rum or whiskey, something like that, to kind of give your coffee kick. Now, I'm not saying that you do that while you're working, but when you're at home or when you're with friends, it's a great way to give your coffee that little extra kick. Don't do it all the time, but occasionally is perfect. And that's exactly what this is like. It's got that boozy sensibility, but it's got that roasted coffee smell. It gives you a little bit of scratchiness, a little bit of resinousness that comes from the whiskey, and is one of my favorite fall weather fragrances. This is literally the perfect time of year to wear this fragrance, so please do yourself a favor. If you don't own Halloween Man X, definitely get it. Guys, that's a wrap on my 10 boozy fall weather fragrances. It is a perfect time of year to grab yourself a fragrance or two that has rum, whiskey, gin fizz, any kind of alcohol that gives it that little bit of kick, that little bit of warmth, smoothness, resinousness, a little bit of sugar that just gives it that extra appeal that you're looking for. And all of these do just that. So I hope you own some of them. If you do, let me know what your experience with them has been like. If there are some that are missing off this list that I should have included, let me know that in the comments as well. Guys, thanks so much for stopping by and checking out my video today. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.